is going on, everybody out there in the YouTube truck community? Sean Cahalan, Christian Brother Trucker, coming at you again with another video today. And today, I'll give you an update, talk about a couple of different things. No particular real subject in particular, just been running hard the last couple of days. Now I was on a run from Idaho all the way over to North Carolina, got that kicked off, and then picked up another load heading all the way back over to finals over in Ogden, Utah. So I think my outbound load was around 2,200 to 2,300 miles. And then my back haul, of course, is another 2,100 to 2,200 miles. But yeah, I mean, running hard, running consistent. Now, you know, with reefer unit, I still have quite a bit of sitting time, you know, waiting on the load and unloads, and sometimes a day, maybe a day and a half, waiting on a reload, because we usually have pretty consistent outbound freight, but when it comes to getting a reload, we tend to work with brokers. And so sometimes it can take a little while to get something on the back haul to get us back up into Idaho. But I gotta say, you know, I've been on with this company now for over a month, and I've received about four paychecks. And even with having to go to meet with my attorney for bankruptcy, my checks have been consistent, and they've been consistently over $1,100 a week. So one of my checks was like $1,700. One of my checks was $1,400. I think my worst check to date so far was $1,100, but that was the week that I had to stay around the house so that I could go meet with my attorney. So all in all, I've got no complaints whatsoever. You know, Doug Andrews Distributing is a smaller family-run company, and it's a different atmosphere. It's a different environment. And, you know, I'm driving a better truck, a Peterbilt, which tend to be a little bit more expensive, but they tend to give you less problems. I mean, they're still prone to your average maintenance problems. Like, I've had to have a couple of brake canisters replaced. I've had to have the turn signal wiper multi-switch replaced. I had to have my bunk heater fixed because my bunk heater quit working, and we're going into winter time, so I had to, you know, swing through and get that fixed up. But other than that, I really haven't had a whole bunch of issues with the equipment. I had to replace a light on the back of the tractor. You know, lights go out, that's just normal. But as far as, you know, finally getting all the bugs worked out in the truck, things are looking pretty good, pretty consistent. I'm running hard. I'm running, you know, I've ran both recaps and I've ran, you know, bigger mileage days, 650 miles a day for a couple of days straight. And it just tends to be a little bit more consistent. I like being an over-the-road driver, just for the simple fact that when you run loads on an OTR and you're actually running over 1,400 miles, 2,000 miles on a haul, you're not swapping trailers out every day, and you're not going into a shipper and a receiver every day. And so the thing about it is when you're doing local drop and hook and they're calling you an OTR driver, well, let's back it up and say, what's the difference between an OTR driver? What is a true quote-unquote OTR driver? A true OTR driver is somebody that drives all over the continental United States. All over the place. All regions. So, you know, companies have a tendency to call people OTR when what they actually do is they run within a specified region. So like with Pascal Truck Lines, they called me OTR, but I wasn't really OTR because I was all east of the I-35, which I guess it's over the road. I guess they consider that to be, you know, how long you're staying out. I don't know. I've always just considered true OTR to be 48 states. That's true OTR. But with Pasco Truck Lines, it was all east of the I-35, and I did cover pretty much all of the states on the eastern side of the United States. But when I worked for Knight Transportation, it's called a regular route OTR, and the thing about that is what tends to happen is, yes, you do run all over the place. So you'll run from the west to the east to the southeast to the southwest. But what tends to happen is you jump from region to region to region to region. So you'll be working your way across the United States with a stop here and a stop there and a stop here, and and you're doing a load and then another load and then another load and then another load and then another load. So I call that OTR regional or some kind of mix like that. But because what tends to happen is you end up servicing a region, especially on the weekends. You'll be running the regional runs for the dedicated regional. When they go home on the weekend, Saturday and Sunday, you come in and you fill in because you're an OTR truck being utilized as regional. And so that's what tends to happen there. And so what happens is you're driving your 11 hours a day, but you're not producing as good a miles as you could OTR. Well, why is that? Well, because what ends up happening is even though you're putting in 11 hours, you're having to drive into local cities, and you're having to do a delivery, and then you're having to go to a reload, pick up another load, even if it's preloaded, and then go to another receiver. And each time you go into a shipper or a receiver, you're having to do local driving to get into the shipper, right, to the receiver, local driving in, local driving out, and then you go to your next receiver. So all of that local driving, final mile and first mile, eats up time every day. And so you can still do your 2,800 to 3,200 miles, but it's a grind. It's really tough. When you're true OTR, you're able to put up bigger numbers a lot easier because you're not doing all that local driving. You still run into traffic, but there's just a lot less paperwork and a lot less messing around. And so I tend to like the true OTR lifestyle a lot better. It does mean that you have to stay out a little bit longer sometimes, but I prefer it over regional. So to give you guys an update on Jesse Jocelyn, he finally got into his brand new truck after all of his breakdown issues with the International that he was trying to get over to Phoenix so he could put that out of service. So he finally got over there, got into the truck, and I think he's going to go get under his first load here pretty soon. So, with Knight Transportation, you've heard me say it many, 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 many times. Knight Transportation has a pretty good training program. Outside of that, their driver pay is substandard, and their maintenance department is way below standard. So, because they're a mega fleet, they've got too much equipment that they're trying to keep up with, and they just can't keep up with it. But what happens is right now we're in a failing market. So, or you can call it a trucking recession, you can call it all kinds of different stuff, but we're in a down market. And some of the ways that big mega fleets will start to manipulate all of their policies and stuff is they will start to tweak something over here and then tweak something over here. And what you'll notice is you'll notice little minor things that you might not really recognize as signs that you're in a down market and the way that it's affecting these fleets. So some of the signs to look out for when you're in a down market and whether or not you're involved with the right company is, so I'll give you some examples of what Knight Transportation did on the downturn when the market started to slide. They came out with a change in the policies in order to hit their bonuses. So what they did is that they made it they made the fuel bonuses a little bit more difficult to hit. They were already hard to hit anyways. The second thing that they did is they lowered the point threshold on the smart drive system. So you're graded on safety, and if you get any smart drive events, you get issued points, kind of like golf. The lower the number, the better off you are. You want to be below par, right? So what they did is they lowered the par from 25 down to 10 or 15. And so if you get a driving event, could be following too close, could be hard braking, could be swerving, could be running a red light, stop sign, any of these little things. And so if you're given any points on your smart drive, you basically, once you get an event, they immediately give you 50 points for most events. Could be up to 100. Well, in order to get that down to 15, you have to have almost 2 to 3 weeks in between the time that you got the event and the current timeline. So you can have no events the entire month, and at the end of the month, get an event and get 50 points and miss your safety bonus. So on top of that, they also made it to where you can't have any mechanical violations on any inspections that you get pulled in for. Now, as we've talked about, you know, the major problems that these maintenance departments are having over there, what happens is you're ending up having to get a lot of stuff fixed, and if you don't get the stuff fixed, you're going to get a violation, a mechanical violation. Well, great. So if you go and you get everything fixed and then you still get a mechanical violation, and this could be for any small little minor thing that you might not have caught during your pre-trip inspection. It could be a light that just went out as you were driving down the road. It could be a headlight that just went out when you were driving down the road. It doesn't matter. Any little minor violation that you get during an inspection is going to immediately disqualify you from getting your safety bonus. And let's see, those were the two major things. You also can't get any preventable accident or damage to equipment. So I don't think that they messed with the production bonus, but what tends to happen is when the markets go down, the market volumes go down, and you end up sitting a lot more often, and you won't even really realize it, because what happens is when the market volumes go down, you do a lot less drop-in hooks, and you end up doing a lot more live loads and unloads. You end up doing a lot more of taking the load to the final destination and being forced to sit on that load until they're able to live unload it. So at the end of the day, folks, what ends up happening is you have a big chance of not hitting as good of a production bonus. You end up missing your fuel bonus because they change the numbers and manipulate the numbers on that. And then you end up missing a safety bonus because you accidentally were following too close one day, somebody cut you off, and they gave you points on your safety score. And at the end of the day, what happens is, okay, so you're going, well, that's not that big of a deal, right? It could be a couple pennies here, a couple pennies there. Yeah. But if you miss any one of the three, so you have 4 cents per mile on production, 1 cent a mile for fuel, 1 cent a mile for safety. And then, if you get all three, you get a kicker bonus of 2 cents per mile. So 4 plus 2 plus 2 is 8 cents per mile. Now, you tell me, on 10,000 miles, whether you think 8 cents per mile is a big deal or not. Because I say it is. That's $800 a month that you're out when you don't hit these bonuses. So, you know, and what they do is they drop the driver pay down to 46 cents or 48 cents per mile, and then they just don't pay you for a whole bunch of stuff. Like if you end up having to deadhead 250 miles to go home, they don't pay you for that. They pay you coming out of the house, but they don't pay you the 5 hours to drive the truck to get to the house. And then the fuel that you burn, so you get the miles, but the miles don't count. So what happens is the fuel that you burn counts negatively against your fuel numbers. So the other things that you might notice is Night Transportation just did a major change where they changed their service intervals for their A and B service intervals. Now they don't even change the oil on these trucks until you get to 70,000 miles. Okay, well, why would they do that? Well, because they want to lower their maintenance costs, right? So they're cutting costs there. You go into any of these shops and you ask them if they have any parts, and they never have any parts because they don't inventory product because they don't want that on their books. It's called cooking the books, right? So, they're not inventorying any products because they don't want to carry these items on their inventory because they don't want to show it on their balance sheets. Looks good to the stockholders, right? So, at the end of the day, this is what happens. These are some of the ways that you can identify whether or not your company is being affected by the down market. Now, if you're out there looking and researching about trucking companies and you're looking to get your foot in the door, fresh out of driving school, you got to make a lot of phone calls and you got to reach out to a lot of different companies. And when you have these people on the phone, ask specific questions about, what kind of freight they haul, how steady things are going to be, how many miles a month are you going to be able to get, how many miles a week are you going to be able to get. I've called around, even as an experienced driver, when I call around and I ask these specific questions, and if I get any hem-hawing or back and forth and they can't assure me that I'm going to get the miles, there's no way I'm going to come drive for you. Doug Andrews Distributing, when I called them, they said that they were busy and that they needed drivers right away. And that they can assure me that it was going to be no problem for me to get 3,000 miles plus per week. And that they had freight consistently. And I happen to know that's because of the outbound freight. So, don't be afraid to call recruiters, but always verify what it is that they're telling you. And, don't just settle for the first opportunity that comes up because, if you only have one company that's calling you back and they're really desperate to get you on, that could be because they have a hard time with driver retention. And they probably have a hard time with driver retention because they don't treat their drivers right. So what qualifies as treating a driver right, and what earns the driver's respect, and what earns the driver's what is going to make it to where a driver is going to be dedicated to you? Steady miles, steady paycheck. That's it. Keep me running. So, and mutual respect. I mean, but with night transportation, I got mutual respect. But mutual respect with an inconsistent paycheck makes it to where I'm a failure as a provider, and I'm relying on my company to be able to provide me with the stability that I need. And so if I can't find that with a company, and they've assured me that they were going to pay me as much as I was making before, and I get over there and find out that they were lying to me, that they were withholding information from me, or they give me a whole bunch of excuses, it's like, I'm sorry, but it might not have been you that lied to me directly, but your recruiting department definitely lied to me, and your recruiting department works for you. So, so call around and call some different companies, small, medium, and mega fleets. And right now, there isn't a mega fleet that's not being affected by this down market right now. If you have the option to hold off before coming in, you might want to hold off on coming into trucking right now. Because if you don't, then what's going to happen is you're going to come in, they're going to promise you all kinds of stuff, and then they're going to fail to deliver. And then once they fail to deliver, then they're going to come up with all of these excuses of why they're not doing what they said they were going to do. It's not easy to find a good company. And unfortunately, what happens is a lot of drivers don't have enough experience with different trucking companies, so they don't know a good thing from a bad thing. They don't know when, they might sit there and go, I'm averaging 2,200 miles a week. This is really great. Well, no, it's not. But if you've never driven 2,800 to 3,500 miles a week consistently, you're not going to know what you're missing, right? So, I hear this a lot from different drivers that post videos on YouTube, and if it works for you, it works for you. So, first off, just know that if what you're doing is providing a good paycheck for you and you're happy with the amount of money that you're making, stay where you are. But if you're not, don't be afraid to jump ship. There's ways that you can call around and apply for other jobs while you're still driving for that company, and then you can set it up to where you drop the truck off at one company, get into a rental car, and go right to another trucking company. And go from, I just got off this truck, a day, 2 days ago, I go into orientation. So you leave the truck on Thursday, travel on Friday and Saturday, and then that next Monday, you're in orientation and you're in another truck on Thursday. I've done it many, many times. So it is possible to change jobs while you're still driving down the road, and usually your payroll will fall behind a little bit, so you'll be collecting a final paycheck from the one company, and then you'll be getting another paycheck from the company that you're hiring on with that's going to pay you for orientation. You do end up losing 3 to 4 days of driving, maybe up to a week, so be aware of that if you do change companies, it's going to cost you. So there is that possibility that you will end up losing a week's worth of production. So make sure that if you do switch companies that you're pretty sure that it's worth it, because it does cost you quite a bit. So I got a drop in Denver, Colorado at 5 a.m. in the morning, so I'm going to have to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning. I got about 80 miles to go to get to drop 1. And then I got to go from Denver on up to Jordan Valley. Yeah, Jordan Valley, Utah. And I got to be in Jordan Valley by 5 a.m. And any of you guys that know Salt Lake City, you know that you get into Salt Lake City at night and you're not going to be able to find parking. So probably going to stop in Evanston, find some parking there, get up at 3 a.m. again, run out the rest of the run. So I'm going to be running some pretty early hours. I'll have to be getting up really early. So that's the updates of what's going on. Now some of the other thoughts that I've had about being out here trucking, and any of you new guys that are coming into trucking, it's gross out here. I'll tell you, you get into some of these truck stops and you got trash everywhere. All the parking lots smell like piss. The other day, I was at a truck stop and this guy opened his driver's door, came out, stood on the driver's side step in his underwear, and basically dropped his pants and started pissing on the ground right in front of me. Yeah, that was pretty gnarly. It was pretty disturbing. So you will see some pretty disturbing stuff out here. You will be exposed to pretty extreme stuff out here. But I love trucking. So if you're thinking about coming into trucking and you're just not sure what the over-the-road life is like, imagine yourself camping in a tent, and you can bring whatever you want with you, food, drinks, but it's kind of like driving an RV down the road. You just got to be responsible for delivering and picking up freight. But if you like camping, if you like the nomadic lifestyle and you like being able to be out on the road, sure work out just fine for you. But if you're the kind of person that just likes to sit in an office and you like the predictability of being able to work 9 to 5 Monday through Friday, you're going to come out OTR and you're going to have a rude awakening, if you like that kind of lifestyle, you might want to look at local driving. And if you don't mind being out on the road for 5 to 6 days at a time, you might want to take a good serious look at regional. So, you know, you have a lot of choices out here. And, you know, with a lot of these mega fleets, you can be trained regionally, local, or OTR. It just kind of depends on what kind of trainers they have available. But a majority of companies are going to train you OTR. So that first month to however long the training program is going to be is going to expose you to over-the-road life with another driver over the road. So cramped quarters, you know. So just be aware of that. But you'll get to see a lot of beautiful stuff. You'll get to see a lot of the country. You know, so I mean, you have the obvious stuff. You have the you get to travel around. You get to see all kinds of beautiful scenery, you know. And what I say, you get to see God's handiwork. You get to see some absolutely jaw-dropping sunsets and sunrises. You know, but you also get the ability to be able to be responsible and not be micromanaged. You know, so what do I mean by that? Well, that pretty much means that they tell you that they need you to go here and they need you to deliver here. They don't tell you when to pull over and take your break. They don't tell you when to take your 10 off. They don't tell you what hours specifically to run. You just got to be there to pick up the load, and then you got to be there to drop the load. Depending on what company you go to work for, you know, you might find yourself being micromanaged by your management team. But I know I've had management teams try to micromanage me, and I tell them very quickly, you know, don't micromanage me. It's going to make things worse. But, you know, with a lot of things, they say that you'll either love it or you hate it. And you'll know pretty quick, usually within a couple of weeks, whether you're going to love it or hate it. You know, and there's no judgments coming from, you know, from me as a veteran. I have a lot of respect for people that can recognize that this isn't going to work out for them. And I would respect somebody a lot more if they can just be okay with that and say, you know, I think I'm going to go home. I'm be okay with that. I've had certain trainees try to blow up and blame me or blame the company or blame this or that, and it's like, hey, you know, be an adult, make a decision. If you don't like it, go home. And don't even feel bad about it, you know. But you don't need to blame somebody else because you made a decision and you don't like the results of that decision, right? So I'm going to make a video about one of my trainees that basically blew up and exploded on me, and I darn near dropped him off at a truck stop in the middle of nowhere. So stay tuned for that video. I'll be dropping that one here pretty soon. But this one is just kind of a jibber jabber session, you know, just to talk about a little bit of this and a little bit of that. But I'm also going to be working on a series of videos where I'm going to be interviewing some of my past trainees. I'm going to reach out to some of my old trainees, and I'm going to see if I can go live, and I'm going to see if I can bring them in to do a live interview with them and ask them specific questions about the experiences that they had and their thoughts coming from brand new drivers who came to work for Pasco Truck Lines and Night Transportation, and pick their brains a little bit about, you know, some of the things that they struggled with, some of the things that they expected, some of the things that they didn't expect. But just to really kind of to dial in and get some dialogue between trainer and trainee about the experiences of training. That way we can get that perspective out there so that people might be a little bit better educated, or it might help some people out there. I'm not really sure, but I've been wanting to do this and put this together for a long time. So stay tuned for that. That's going to be upcoming. I'm not sure exactly when I'm going to be able to put that together, so be patient with that one. And if you have any ideas on specific topics that you'd like for me to talk about, coming from a veteran who's been out here for 8 years, I've done flatbed, I've done reefer, I've done dry van, I've done local, regional, and OTR, and I've done owner operator with my own LLC. I've done lease purchase with companies, and I've been a company driver. So I'm pretty knowledgeable about certain specifics when it comes to just about everything. The only thing that I haven't done is I haven't done pneumatics. I haven't done a lot of tanker, and I've never done any double drop, flatbed, or RGN. But if you have any basic questions about any of the other stuff, drop some comments below and make some suggestions about stuff that you'd like to hear about. That would help me out. Sometimes I go dry a little bit in my head with stuff to talk about, and then I end up making videos where I just sit here and ramble on about nothing. But if you like me and you like this video, please like and subscribe and share. Hit the notification bell, subscribe to my channel, and share this video with anybody that you might know that's in trucking, that you might think might find me interesting. I know I'm a goofy guy, and I'm very opinionated. I tell it how it is. But I try to keep it light. I do get serious sometimes, and I do get a little bit worked up. Usually that has to do with companies not doing what they're supposed to be doing, and I'm pretty passionate about safety. So if you like me and you like this video, please like, subscribe, and share, and comment if you have any ideas for topics for upcoming videos. And as always, thanks for watching, and God bless you all.